Rise up, my nation of gamers! It is Wednesday, September 15th, and this is your GG Replay. GG Replay is, of course, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show where we break down the latest in gaming news, hosted by us, the Goodnight Groofs. A place for games, and a place for me getting really hyped at the start of the show and then losing it. Also a place for goofs. We're workshopping the slogan, but we're getting there. My name is Paul, and I am joined here, as always, by Matt. What's going on, my man?
I'm good, Paul. I think every new listener who heard Rise Up immediately paused, deleted the download, and unsubbed. So
Yeah, you don't think so? Rise up, the nation of gamers.
No, but I'm doing well. I have just been like dabbling in a bunch of different games yesterday and today, just because I have so much free time at the moment. So I'm just kind of playing everything. And,
love it. Give me like a small rundown. We don't have to talk about them. We can talk about
yeah. So I am keeping a running list for Game Groofs. So I've been playing NCAA Football 14, some COD multiplayer, Splitgate, Ghost of Tsushima, Deathloop, World of Warcraft. So I'm kind of playing everything.
Yeah, moving around, ADHD here. We're getting to a lot of different games.
Yeah, pretty much everything. So it's just been a good time. It's been a good, relaxing time. And just hanging out, Paul. What about you? What's going on with you?
I'm doing great. Nothing overly exciting over here, I will say. Although I have been playing some games this week, but I'm struggling to remember what they were. I've been replaying PS4 Spider-Man, which I did mention the other day. But I will say, shout out, because I did watch some streams this week. I watched Mike, our very own resident Groof here, actually was streaming on the Goodnight Groofs Twitch channel, playing Deathloop. I believe that was last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was last night.
So pretty awesome. Mike has in the works some ideas for some reviews. We might see reviews down the line, and in addition, he's doing some streaming on the Groove channel. And so, like I said before, make sure you get over there and you subscribe to our Twitch channel, because we don't just do our live specials for events, which we do, but also we are going to be doing some more game streaming on there. So really cool to see Mike at the helm of that. And it was a lot of fun, really fun stream. I kind of ghosted in there for a little bit. I didn't say anything, but it was actually, that game looks hilarious and really cool. I'm actually, it made me really want to play Deathloop.
Yeah, the game has been great so far. I'm not very far in, but it's been great so far. And like you said, it was really nice seeing that was our first ever like gameplay stream on that channel. So yeah, that was really cool. And there will be more coming, of course.
Absolutely. All right. We have a packed day and lots to talk about. So just before we get started, just want to remind everyone, if you come across any necessary corrections in today's episode, please send them to ggreplayshow@gmail.com or head down to the YouTube comments below so we can address them in the next episode. Matt, the reviews are in. They're just in. They're right here. They're red hot. They're piping hot, like a pizza out of the oven.
Ooh.
And we have a few of them to talk about. Very different games. Very different games have been reviewed this week. We're starting off strong with an arcade favorite. Cruisin' Blast, Nintendo Switch release. Now, this was an arcade game from 2017, but now it is on the Switch, and it got a 74 on OpenCritic, and you can play that right now on the Switch. Matt, give us the rundown, because as I've seen in the notes here, you have played some Cruisin' games before. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, so I used to play Cruisin' USA and Cruisin' World in the arcade a ton. It was really the only racing game in the arcade that I really liked, but I loved it. I love, like, you smash down on the pedal twice and your car does a wheelie. There's so much going on. Like, there's dinosaurs and there's just like there's a bunch of random stuff that the road is falling apart. You can crash through things. I think in the original Cruisin' USA, if you ran over a cow, they like turn into hamburgers.
Oh my God.
Absolutely ridiculous. But just a really silly arcade racer that just a lot of fun. And I didn't actually know that these came to console for some reason. I never knew that. But apparently they do come to console, and Cruisin' Blast, which did release in arcades 4 years ago, is now on the Nintendo Switch. So if that's something you're into, go check it out. I won't be purchasing it because I'd much rather play these games in an arcade with pedals and a steering wheel and stuff.
But you can use the motion controls on this game to steer with your Joy-Cons.
Oh, that's cool.
If that is something you're interested in, that feature does exist, which is kind of cool.
That's cool. I won't be doing it, but
not quite the same. Not quite the same, but it is neat to see that. They did at least include that little thing there. And yeah, it looks fun. I remember playing Cruis'n USA. Now that you mention it, I do remember playing that in the arcade, and it was a lot of fun. I think you know what, I do remember that having a console release because I feel like I remember playing that with a friend at their house on like N64 or
Yeah, I think it was
something.
on N64. I think it's
Yeah,
always been a Nintendo thing.
yeah, it makes sense. Like the Japanese market and stuff like that. Although with all the arcade stuff, it makes me think maybe of like Sega and stuff too. But I guess Nintendo always had like quite in Japan. It's like quite an arcade scene as well.
Yeah, I think they just got in early on the licensing with the console ports.
Makes sense. You know what? I like my arcade games a little more realistic, a little more high graphic. But you know what? As I saw in a review talking about this game, the Switch doesn't have analog triggers. So you may not want to be playing like really, more immersive sim games for driving on a Switch, just because you're not going to get that throttling in the same way. So
Hmm.
it actually makes more sense to kind of have stuff like Cruis'n USA where it doesn't matter so much about your input and it's more fun than like something like, oh, I'd rather play Forza Horizon. Well, not on the Switch, you wouldn't. So, because you're
Yeah.
going full blast all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I'm playing a racing game on console, I want it to be high graphics and
Me too.
high fidelity. But like if I'm playing in an arcade, I really don't care. I want it to be as wacky and crazy and wild as
Yeah.
possible.
And this looks like a game the Switch might actually be able to play. So always good to see
That is
I saw the
true.
graphics. I was like, yeah, this looks about right. All right, moving on, talking about a game that is actually the opposite, where this console could definitely play a lot better than this. Skatebird, which is of course a pun on skateboard. It got a 60 on OpenCritic. It is out tomorrow. It is day one on Game Pass, and boy, oh boy, does this look like a fun thing to customize your birds with. And there's also a skateboarding component, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, I think the best description I saw of this was that the physics are as if you were a light bird where your bones don't weigh anything
I
and you're
saw that
fluffing
too.
feathers. Do you see that? And that you're just I think that was the Destructoid review that I was watching, and they were
Yeah,
saying like
yeah.
and you can flap a little bit, so it's like it's almost like they made a game and it accidentally had physics like that because it was that they just couldn't nail it
Right.
down, and they're like, oh, it makes sense that it's a bird now because that's the only way that would work.
Oh my god, that's
um,
true. That's funny.
it looks janky as hell. The
Yeah,
graphics look a lot more underwhelming than I initially kind of feel like I
same.
saw. It look and the frame rate just from reviews I saw was pretty rough. That being said, the customization on the birds is hilarious. You can get like different species of bird. You can change like what they wear. I will be playing this game because it to me is free on Game Pass, so I will be dabbling in this. I'm almost like thinking it might be a fun game to review because there's so few like high view reviews for this game. Maybe because no one wants to play it, but maybe this
Yeah.
would be a good breakout review.
When I watched the Destructoid review, it had under 1,000 views,
It still does only have I think
which
something like that. Yeah,
so weird. I think part of that is a Destructoid thing. I think they might have gone away and came back and
they did, but nobody. I that was the highest view count I saw for
yeah,
any of them. It was like
yeah, same.
400 views or something. I was like, really? Like I feel like we could grab some of these.
Yeah,
Anyway, Matt, what's your take on Skatebird?
it's disappointing because when this was first announced, I thought that this could be a really fun, quirky indie game. Like
Yep.
if you're making a skateboard game, you just have to get the physics right, which is not it's not an easy feat, but
No.
like it's the one thing you have to get right. And I don't know if they got that right in this game.
Doesn't seem
And
like it.
then you know, if you're not going to get that right, you have to go all in on the other stuff, which I'm not sure if they quite did. It's just the whole thing about skateboarding games is there's like a secret sauce involved, and that comes with
Yeah.
skateboarding culture. That's the clothing, that's the music, that's the attitude, and like this doesn't have that. So this isn't really going to be for like the hardcore skateboarding crowd. This is just going to be for the I want to check out this quirky indie game crowd, which
It's a
is it.
meme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the meme. True, exactly.
And
It's
it's
the
got
meme
meme
crowd.
speech, like they say in the review. They call them burbs, not
Right.
birds, and there's all this like little memey speech. I don't really mind it. I guess maybe I'm too chuggy. I don't mind a little bit of meme speech and some burbs, but I understand also it's pretty cringy for a lot of people, especially like Gen Z, to be reading that. So may not be catching on super well. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's just I guess the
Yeah.
way I would describe it is just disappointing. Like a 60 is a bad score. It's bad.
And I think there's a lot of people who've been kind of waiting for this game for a few years now. Like this was kind of a free game. I think this was like an IO game for a while or something, and they've been kind of like working on this and
Oh, really?
and kind of talking about it. And it was so anyway. It ended up really releasing not good. I think like you're saying the skateboard culture thing, it's either that or you have really tight physics and you have to have at least one of those things.
Yeah.
And I feel like they didn't. So too bad. I wish they didn't go for such a realistic style. I mean, obviously that's not necessarily something like maybe that's just their what was available to them. But it would have. I think this would have worked better. Maybe if it was a little more cartoony. It may not have mattered so much
Yeah.
the physics and stuff if it had looked like a little bit like more colorful. And that's kind of how I remembered it in my head actually. And then when I watched the
Same.
review, it was like, oh wow, this is not what I remembered. This looks like kind of realistic, but with that's weird. But like it makes it easier to look janky.
Yeah.
All right, it's enough for Skatebird. Let's move eastward to talk about Eastward, which is as Matt writes, a Zelda-like RPG. I definitely agree. Like an old school Zelda game. Got an 84 on OpenCritic. It's out tomorrow. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you think of first impressions from looking at the Eastward stuff, the reviews and things?
My God, I love the art style. It is like old school RPG, but it's really detailed and it has really good animations. It's well animated while keeping the old school feel. So like, I don't really even know how they managed to do this. It looks unlike something that I've seen before. I
Wow.
really like it, and it looks legitimately really cool. It just looks
Yeah.
like a good game. I know in one of the reviews I was watching, it said that the combat can be a little bit too easy because you can
Yeah, I
kind of
saw that as
cheese
well.
it.
Yeah.
But the story seems interesting. The environments look really good. This is not normally my type of game,
Yep.
and it just looks really cool. Like I'm very interested in trying this out. This might be I think this is on Switch. This feels like it'd be a really good Switch game for me.
It seems like it'd be a great Switch game. So I think it's not going to tax it too much. This would be a good game to play in handheld or something on a long trip or something like that. Well, yeah, it looks really cool. Like you said, yeah, the combat looks like it might be a little simple, but I'm also not like into like crazy over the top combat for something like this. I don't mind that it's a little simple. To be honest, I kind of wouldn't mind if something like this was a little more turn based, maybe. But
Hmm.
I'm fine with the way it is. But that might make it allow it to be a little deeper if they kept the same kind of style. But whatever. I think it looks cool. The story seems cool. Got like a Joel and Ellie kind of vibe here.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like a post apocalyptic thing. Anyway, looks cool. Good to see, some more new takes on that genre. I like when people can take that old school graphic style, but then add something to, kind of take it into the 21st century. So
You know what?
very
What
cool.
really wowed me was this isn't the kind of game where you see a scene and you're like, whoa, the lighting looks really good. And yet I did that. Like there was a
Yeah,
scene that was dark, but there was like a street light, and I'm like, wow, the lighting looks really good. Like,
yeah,
what? This is not the kind of game where the lighting should look good, but it does.
yeah.
I was really
That's yeah.
impressed.
That's something cool about lighting too. That's like what adds. You can add lighting to like any kind of graphic game, and it really adds something like that realistic lighting. I mean, you look at like the Minecraft with the RTX update. I mean, not saying
Yeah,
Minecraft doesn't look good, but it has its style. It is kind of blocky, obviously. But when you saw the visuals for that with RTX, it looks nuts. Like it
it's
looks crazy.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool to see how lighting can affect things, and I think that's really the big graphical update we're dealing with in this generation is what they can do with lighting. So yeah, that's an interesting point actually. And moving on to our final game that we were talking about that was reviewed today, Origami 2 stealth action ninja game. Got a 70 on OpenCritic. It's out Friday. I will say, as someone who doesn't really follow these types of games and definitely didn't follow the original Origami, this looked really cool. I'm kind of sad because the actual gameplay, from what I've seen, it looks crazy janky and just like unfinished. But the visuals of it and the idea of it, the way you like sneak up on people and zip around and go invisible, it reminded me a lot of like my stealth scenes I've been enjoying in Spider-Man a little bit.
Yeah.
And like it looks like a lot of fun. It reminds me a lot of Overwatch, almost like playing Genji or something. Like even the landscapes looked a lot like certain areas in
I agree.
Overwatch.
Yeah.
I think Hanamura or something is like a Japanese stage or something, and that it looks a lot like Hanamura. But that being said, from what I've seen from looking at reviews, not really the one to bring the genre back necessarily.
Yeah, it seems really low budget, really janky, really buggy. I think the scores are about the same as Origami 1, maybe even slightly lower.
Hmm.
This really, watching the reviews for this, really just proved to me that we need a really good ninja stealth game. And it's
Exactly.
been a little while. I know people really like Tenshu, but the last like 4 or 5 Tenshu games were all rated really poorly. It's been a
Yeah.
while. Ninja Gaiden, like it's been a while since we've gotten something along those lines. So I think it's time. I think it's
Yeah,
time.
I totally agree. I actually, this wasn't something I was really thinking about being interested in this genre. But seeing this game and seeing what you could do in this, seeing how you can like grip on the, jump up, grip on the edge of a thing, and then take someone out, pull them over the edge. That seems so cool. I would definitely play a stealth action ninja game, and I never really have. But this really kind of sold me on the idea of it. And now I just need one that works a little better. Although, you know what? This looked kind of okay enough for me to try. I might try playing this at some point when it goes on sale. We'll have to see. But or maybe I'll try Origami 1, see what's going on there.
Yeah, I think it might be worth it if it's like on like a
It really,
$10 sale or something like that.
yeah, it really did. It really did look kind of fun to me. I'm sure like the jank will annoy me, but I think if you can execute something really well at some point in the game, if you can ever, it seems like the combat's kind of sloppy. That seems like the biggest part that's the problem. But the stealth kills look really cool. So if I could just like stealth everything and try to avoid combat at all costs, it might be fun. Let's talk about the stories today because we have a bunch of interesting stories. First off, this was rumors until just before we started doing the show. This has now come out official. Battlefield 2042 will be delayed by a month. It was originally October 22nd, I think.
Yep.
Now it is November 19th. EA announced that the game will be delayed due to unforeseen challenges. That's a quote from them, created by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I mean, yeah, but I mean, October 22nd was kind of a pretty new release date. Kind of funny that they had another month. But, the pandemic still rages on. There's definitely issues that could be happening with them. And so it totally makes sense. This was, of course, a big leak. All of our leaky boys, Jeff Grubb, Tom Henderson, Special Nick, all talked about it earlier today. And now EA has confirmed it. Matt, what's your take on this? Do you think it's going to affect Battlefield's launch now that they're moving a month later? What kind of games is this coming up against?
Coming out after Call of Duty is not good. I really thought that they were in a great position being mid-October because you were going to be out before COD. People are hungry for a new FPS, and people would have just bought Battlefield because they couldn't wait.
Yeah.
Now, people are going to buy COD. It's going to COD's going to set records. It always does.
Yep.
And people are going to say, well, I just bought COD. Do I need to buy Battlefield? And then they'll say, well, you know what? Halo is also coming out in 2 weeks. So I'll just wait. That multiplayer is free.
And also, like, that's the thing about Halo, right? The multiplayer is free. You might want to play the campaign, and you might want to sink some money into battle passes for Halo. So it's not just like it's totally free. It's something you might want to think about saving for. And also, it's very different. So Call of Duty and Battlefield are a lot closer in gameplay than either of those games and Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And the strategy is very different too, I feel. I think that's fair to say, that tight gameplay that you have from both of those shooters.
Yeah.
And so, coming out second of COD and Battlefield, with Halo on the horizon just a couple weeks later, it's not good. I think that makes total sense what you're saying, because you're kind of going to pick one or the other and then maybe wait for Halo if you're an Xbox person or a PC person.
I think we live in a world where COD coming out second isn't going to hurt COD, but Battlefield coming out second is going to hurt Battlefield. And it's not fair, but it kind of just is what it is. I mean, Call of Duty comes out every year. It's a game that people know is coming, so it's like for the people who buy it, it's like already budgeted in. Yeah. So they know they're getting COD no matter what. And some people might have gotten both Battlefield and COD if Battlefield was first, but I feel like now, since it's
they'll
second,
be a couple weeks into like prestiging, going through their ranks, getting into COD.
They'll be
like,
into COD.
I don't have any time to like play another game right now. I'm like super into my couple months of being obsessed with COD. And then Halo comes out, and you're like, maybe I'll try that. And Christmas comes up, and before you know it, it just doesn't really sell.
Battlefield and COD, they're two different games. Like, I get that, and I get that they play differently, and they have very different multiplayer, and they do have different crowds. But also, let's not mess around here. Like, they obviously have a lot of cross-pollination. There are a lot of people that would play both games and do play both games.
If you had to choose, you could only get one of them, what would you buy?
This year specifically, definitely Battlefield.
Yeah, I mean this year. Yeah. Battlefield?
Yeah, just because it's been a while since there's been a Battlefield. This Battlefield specifically, to me, looks really good and really fun. And I also, like, with COD, I'm not necessarily interested in the World War II stuff right now.
Yep.
If it were...
And you can still go back and play, like, old COD multiplayers are still pretty popular, like, in a lot of ways. They're going to have to, like, shut them down to stop people playing stuff like Modern Warfare, Cold War, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm playing Modern Warfare right now, and it's probably the more popular version than Cold War even.
Yep, exactly.
And
So
Modern Warfare, the sequel, there's new rumors for that. That'll being next year's COD.
I think that's the thing when you have more Call of Duties that aren't the same setting every year, when you have different settings, those games will have longer lasting power than just a year because
Mhm.
maybe every other year, a modern will come out, but every other year World War II will come out or something like that. So then if you're really into the World War II COD, that's going to last you more than a year. That's going to last a while. So you can still go back and play that one. Or there's a lot of options to play Call of Duty online. Whereas Battlefield, this is like a big deal, I think. This is kind of a marquee release, this 2042 game. And I think that should be more of an impact. So
It also
you should
hurts.
buy that.
It also hurts because Battlefield, of these three big hitter FPSs, Battlefield's the only one that doesn't have a free component to it.
Yes.
So I don't know, man. Like I think they would have done much better if they could have stayed to the October date.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is something they had to do, but I
Yeah.
would not put it in between both COD and Halo. If anything, like, I don't know, put it out in early January or something.
I know. The problem with Q1 is all the other games. They're not shooters, but like people are still going to be spending mondo money on games, and they might be like, "Oh, I already have like a bunch of shooters. I already have a Halo game. I don't need another another
Ja-
shooter right now."
January is still fairly empty outside of Elden Ring, so
Yeah.
I would, if I was going to put it in Q1, I would specifically put it there.
They
But
want those holiday sales, baby.
yeah, I mean, good luck. I am probably going to buy it, maybe not right away. Maybe on a sale whenever that happens, but the game looks good. It looks fun.
Yeah.
I'm worried. I don't think it's good. And if it doesn't do well, Paul, by the way, I mean, there's going to be a big conversation around what happens with Battlefield going forward.
Yep. I think that makes sense because, it has not been the marquee franchise that they're hoping. I think it is. It's not selling like Call of Duty or anything. So I think, worth let's keep Battlefield going, guys. Let's bump it up. All right, let's move on talking about shooters. Again, we're not done talking about shooters, but this is a shooter that's already come out. Splitgate, the developer of Splitgate, 1047 Games, announced that they have raised $100 million in funding to, quote, continue their journey as an independent, community-first game studio. They've stated that their focus in the coming months will be on growing to become the next big AAA studio. This is huge. This is, first off, a ton of money
Yeah, it is.
for an indie developer like 1047 Games, but also it's a great vote of confidence to see that there's investors who are that interested and that confident in 1047's ability to make a game. I mean, you see so many people playing Splitgate now and going, "This is basically Halo," and having such a good experience. Long before it's taken Halo like years to come out here. I think that's kind of been a great boon for them and something that kind of maybe been similar copycatty with a bit of a gimmick to it, like the portals. Kind of gave them time to basically be the Halo while people have been waiting for Halo Infinite, and that's been huge, I think, for Splitgate.
Yes.
Is that going to continue when Halo comes out? I think possibly. I know I'm definitely going to give it a try this week, actually, and Matt and I have been talking about it. And I'm not. I'll definitely play some Halo too, but I'm not sold on either experience really. So whoever wows me the most, I'm up for it. I also love the idea of this community first, game studio, kind of working to do something that's more indie, that's more focused on players. I mean, obviously it can't ever always be like that, but I like that attitude, especially after getting $100 million.
I think it's pretty obvious that Splitgate and 1047 Games massively was boosted by the fact that it was sort of a waiting for Halo game.
Yep.
And I worry a little bit, $100 million is great. And I never want to say that I feel bad for investors, but I do wonder if these investors put their money in the right place and if they really understood what they were investing in. Now, I'm sure, this boost of players that came in waiting for Halo, are they still going to be around when Halo Infinite's around? Because I don't think so. I was playing Splitgate earlier today, and the descriptions are absolutely on point. Splitgate is Halo with portals, and I will say in the match that I played, I just played one match. So I'm not some sort of expert. I played one match. In the one match I played, people were barely using the portal mechanic, if at all. I felt like I was the only one giving it a shot in the match. So that basically just made it a Halo game. And if that's the case, people are just going to play free Halo Infinite multiplayer over Splitgate. Why would they choose Splitgate over Halo?
Well, the good thing about Splitgate coming first is that they have, a bit of a player base. Now, obviously, some of those people might have been waiting for Halo people. Probably most of those people were waiting for Halo people. But how many got into the game, have started progressing, have maybe, purchased some skins or whatever stuff you can do in Splitgate, and maybe gone, okay, like this is becoming my game. Like I'm getting into this. I'm getting into the flow of it. Maybe they do some quality of life stuff you like that's specifically on that isn't in Halo. Or maybe you like the developer. You've come to like what they're doing. That might sway people. Maybe they'll try playing Halo again, but because they've played Splitgate for so long, there's just a little bit difference in the mechanics, and they might go, hey, Splitgate feels cleaner to me, or maybe Halo feels too processed for me. I don't know. But I'm saying I think there are some people who might actually stick with Splitgate who maybe came from that waiting for Halo crowd. I don't think it's going to be everyone is going to leave for Halo, but certainly a lot of people will. I think you're right. There's definitely going to be a lot of people who will start playing Halo and probably drop Splitgate, but I don't know. I think they've earned some good cred over the last few months.
It's possible that people stay with Splitgate, but I don't know. And as far as like this money, this $100 million, I guess what worries me is that if it goes into Splitgate and makes Splitgate better, that's great. But at the same time, it's going to be competing directly with Halo, which is a problem. If this money goes into other games by 1047, there's no reason to think that 1047 can make another just original great game, considering this is essentially a copy of Halo.
Do you don't think they're going to become the next big AAA studio?
Like, I'm being very skeptical, and I don't know if it's warranted. I just worry, like, there hasn't necessarily been anything proven that they can make an original game that is going to be able to stand on its own. Now, if it does,
they were like, hey, how good would Halo be if we added portals from Portal?
Right.
And then they did that.
Now, if Halo Infinite comes out and Splitgate numbers really don't drop off that much, then great. Then clearly there's something special about Splitgate that people like over Halo. I just have a hard time seeing that being the case. But I hope they prove me wrong. I'm all about indie studios, and good for them for raising this crazy amount of money. But I just hope that this money is not misplaced.
Yep, I think that makes sense. I think you're right. The best way for them to spend this is to, I mean, what do I know? But I think the best way for them to spend this is to put that money into Splitgate to make that a true competitor to Microsoft and Halo. I think that is probably what investors are interested in, is seeing like no one else is really making Halo besides Microsoft. I mean, obviously, you know what I mean? Like all the other shooters are very different. We talked about that Battlefield COD. They have a similar makeup. Not a lot of things don't have a similar makeup to Halo. And people clearly are clamoring for playing Halo, and Halo is not coming out as often as it used to. It's pretty, these Halo games are few and far between. I think, investors might be going, hey, listen, like if you can make something that truly can capture that market, and you guys can be a little bit quicker and develop, not have to worry so much about campaign and that kind of stuff, that might really make this game a true competitor, and might make enough money, even if it doesn't beat Halo, make enough money that it's totally worth it. So I don't know. Interesting to see.
Good luck. I hope it works out. I do.
Yeah. Love it. Really cool. Cool to see small developers build big, and we hope you guys can scale and do great. Moving on, talking about more disappointments, more pushed back dates. Dying Light 2 Stay Human has been delayed to February 4th, 2022. First off, I just want to say February 4th, 2022 is a terrible release date. Stop delaying your games to Q1 2022, everyone. I know the meme is dead and buried, but good Lord, it is stacked, and Dying Light 2 is not going to stand out amongst the crowd, if it even can manage to come out on February 4th. Matt, are you looking forward to February 4th for Dying Light 2?
I think this game will be delayed again. I really think that there's something fundamentally broken with this game. It has been such a long time coming.
Yeah.
It has been delayed multiple times, like significant delays. And this specific delay, less significant, but I really don't think it's going to hit February 4th. And if it does, I think we're going to have a Cyberpunk situation. I do not have any faith in this game. I wish I could say differently, because it looks really interesting. People love Dying Light 1. The general theme and idea for this game is really cool. with all the parkour and taking place above the streets and all that.
Yeah.
I love the idea. I just really am worried that this game is just broken and just fundamentally does not work.
Yeah, this game was supposed to come out 2 years earlier. The game
Yeah.
was supposed to come out early 2020, and it got delayed all the way till December 7th of this year. And even then, still couldn't hit it. Now I understand that's a lot of that's COVID delays. Like probably even if maybe they were almost there at some point in early 2020, then COVID was a massive setback that could have changed some things over the last year and a half. But like, come on, still not ready? Like I think you're right, Matt. There's something clearly they're not telling us. There's something clearly going wrong with this game. Obviously, they're not going to tell us that it's not working, but it doesn't seem like it's working super well. So that's something to consider. Also, to be fair, too, I mean they lost their game director and stuff mid last year too
Yeah.
with Chris Avellini. So a lot going on, a lot of change. It seems like maybe the game got reworked quite a lot potentially after that. It's hard to tell, but we'll have to see. I'm with you. I'm hopeful in the sense that like it looks like a cool concept. It'd be cool if they could pull it off.
It's never good when you see highly ambitious games get significant delays. I don't think it's ever a good thing because it means that things aren't working.
Yeah, and to lose a game director and things like that, and a creative director in that scenario, like I'm not saying it was good or bad. I'm not saying it was good to like necessarily keep him around or anything. I'm just saying that someone like that obviously has a lot of direction and is kind of probably driving that game forward. And to lose that, you could lose a lot of the purpose and that vision for the game. So that must have been a big thing to reel from too. And yeah, it's tough when you, like you said, have an ambitious game that clearly has someone pushing it forward, and then you lose that. We might see a very different Dying Light 2 than we were initially going to be seeing, but yeah. All right, moving right along, Digital Bros, owner of 505 Games, have announced a new studio today called Nesting Games. Kind of a weird name. Nesting Games was founded by former Ubisoft devs, pardon me, and will be located in Quebec City. Welcome to Quebec City. Of course, they're in Ubisoft, so they're like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave town.
Yeah, stay in your home, stay in your apartment.
Yeah, stay in Quebec City, man. It's beautiful there. Get take the little elevator trolley thing. It's a good time. I don't know. I went there in 8th grade. Their goal is to create linear AAA RPGs that focus on story and immersion, as opposed to open world RPGs with a bunch of map markers and checklists. Love it. Bring it on. Very big fan of that. I mean, you see like 505 and think about that kind of stuff. Obviously, AAA or like AA RPGs with like cool storylines and like, but it'd be cool to see RPG aspects. It'd be cool to see some of those really cool RPG aspects and stories and things like a Witcher game or something without having to necessarily be in a massive open world. I'm not going to be on Game Groofs tomorrow, so I'm going to take a split second to say I actually tried replaying Witcher 3 this week. Tried to play it again. And I killed the Noon Wraith, by the way, but I did go further a little bit, and I just can't. It's too big. It's too big.
It's big and it's slow.
And I know that's what a lot of people want. But I would like a bit more of a linear RPG experience. I liked the story. I liked what I had, but all the middle stuff, which I know a lot of people like, I didn't want. I wanted to go from thing to thing a little bit more and have a bit more of a curated experience. I'm into some AAA RPGs that do that, and I'm really excited to see what comes out of Nesting Games. Even if it's something I'm not going to necessarily play because of genre, like the genre of the story or something. I'm very interested to see more of that come out because I like those aspects, but not necessarily. I'm a little tired of open world personally.
Yeah, I'm into both. I love massive open world RPGs, but it's really hard to play those kind of games back to back, and especially back to back to back. So if I could have, and because there's so many of them right now, if I could have more variety, because we really have sort of lost these kind of games. They've been more relegated to the AA space. So it'd be nice to see a AAA version of this sort of thing. And I would love to have that to break up the massive open worlds that I play in. So I'm totally down for this.
Like a 40-hour AAA linear experience as opposed to like 120-hour open world AAA RPG experience.
Yeah, I agree.
It'd be cool to see both. It'd be cool to have both. That's all.
Specifically with RPGs, if it's linear, you can really focus on story in a way where like you don't have to account for player freedom necessarily. You can put more emphasis on player choice, like within your narrative, but not player choice in like I want to go to this part of the map and do this, then this part of the map and do this. And you're like, well, you're doing all these side quests. Shouldn't you be finding Siri right now?
Right, exactly. Or you're having to like save the world from your with your dad in Fallout 3 and you just like ignore the main quest the entire time and it's like or you're like, in Fallout 4 you're like looking for your infant son who was kidnapped and like you're
Right.
just going off and doing side quests and it's like that seems important. Like you don't even seem to care anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, which obviously is like a style you can take, but then the game like reminds you you're supposed to care and it's like you got to pick one. This is confusing. It's immersion breaking. So it is cool to have something like that where they can build it more directly around like player choice, but within narrative is cool.
Yeah. Sort of
Yeah,
like old school BioWare RPGs.
exactly. Yes, I like that. KOTOR remake coming back. Yeah, we'll have to see. Really cool though. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And maybe we'll talk to them at some point. Maybe we'll get in with we'll get
Ooh.
in with nesting games. I'll go to Quebec City and start banging on their door.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Is it Quebec or I've always heard like Quebec or Quebec.
Well, in French they would say Quebec.
Oh. So if
Um,
I'm in English, if I'm saying Quebec, is it kind of dumb?
I don't think it's that bad, but we say Quebec
Oh,
in
okay, cool. I'll just
English
say
here.
Quebec then.
Yeah, Quebec. Quebec is fine. But yeah, they say Quebec, Quebecois, or what they call themselves.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the Quebecois.
The
Moving
Quebec,
right.
the
What?
Quebecois.
Or yeah, so I say we would they would say Quebecois, and so would I. But a lot of English, Anglophone Canadians will say Quebecers instead. That's what they'll call them,
That's
Quebecers.
funny.
Which is kind of funny. So it's a weird country here. All right, we're moving along. Speaking of weird countries, Captain America himself, Anthony Mackie, is set to star as John Doe in the Twisted Metal TV series. Now we've been talking about Twisted Metal this week. We talked about we didn't see it, but we also got some rumors. I think according to Jeff Grubb, our favorite leaky boy over there, talking about them wanting to maybe release that with the TV show, the new game stuff. So here is a starring role in the TV show series. It's being described as high octane action comedy, which totally makes sense for Twisted Metal. I couldn't think of a better description for what that is. What do you think, Matt? I love Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, he's great.
He's hilarious and he's fun. I think he'll fit really, really well into this universe. Yeah, I think cool casting. I still don't know what or why I would watch a Twisted Metal show. I don't know, and I don't know if Anthony Mackie is enough of a draw to get me to watch it with no interest in it at all. But I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
Anthony Mackie's pretty big at this point.
He is.
So the fact that they got him for this role means that they're taking this very seriously. The writers are the Deadpool writers. So this show has a lot going for it, everything going for it, except for the fact that I'm asking myself, why do I care about a Twisted Metal television series?
Exactly.
Now, if they can make me care about it, then I'm interested. I mean, like you said, Anthony Mackie is good. He can be funny. He can do this sort of role. And the
Great
writers,
action. Yeah.
the Deadpool writers, that is very much my kind of very crude comedy.
I think it
with
works
action.
perfectly for Twisted Metal.
Totally.
Those writers.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think that this could weirdly work. And there's clearly people at Sony who have faith in this. It's hard to picture it.
I just need to see something. That's exactly what I was going to say. You're talking about picturing it. I need to see something. I need to see something about the game. I need to see something about the show. I need to see something. An image, a still, a logo, even just to kind of like get an idea of what kind of vibe they're going for. I mean, they've said it, but I need a visual because I just can't even imagine any of this. I'm imagining like Anthony Mackie, like, do you remember, did you ever watch that movie Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone, where he like goes into the future and
No.
and like Taco Bell won the fast food wars? I don't know. It's a hilarious
That's amazing.
movie. That's the one with like the three seashells. Have you ever heard anyone talk about like, going to the bathroom? Anyway, the point is the bad guy who was also frozen and comes into the future. I think it's Wesley Snipes or something, and it's something crazy, and he's just like absolutely crazy, skinny, wild dude. And I just feel like Anthony Mackie's not skinny, but I'm imagining like him dressed in this like crazy like 80s wild thing, just going insane or something, Wesley Snipes style. I truly have no idea what this is going to be. But I need to see something because we keep talking about it every week, and it's like, what am I even talking about?
It'd be cool if they took like an approach on the aesthetic, if they took like a late 90s early 2000s aesthetic approach.
Yes.
I think that'd be kind of interesting. I will say I have way more faith in the TV series than a reboot of the video game series.
Yeah.
So
Same.
I
You
just
can make a crazy TV series about anything nowadays.
right,
I
yeah.
believe it.
You could make it work. Now, a demolition derby vehicular combat video game, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe. We'll have to see. But like you were saying, that's a good call. Good get to get Anthony Mackie. He's going to be starring in some Captain America stuff
Yeah.
pretty soon, and he's definitely becoming a big star. I mean, if he isn't already, really. And so, yeah, good move with that and the Deadpool writers. I definitely agree with you. I have faith that this is something. I just want to see what it is. But game wise, I have no idea if that's anything. Imagine like the TV show becomes successful and then they come up with like a AA weird movie tie-in game kind of thing to bring the game back, and it becomes more famous for being a good TV show than being a video game at that point. That would be really funny.
Has there been any indication where this show is going to live? Like, I'm thinking Netflix because of the Sony agreements with Netflix that have been going on, but
yeah,
I don't know where this show is going to be. Because that can also determine how far they can go with, their the comedy.
Disney Plus,
violence.
let's go.
Yeah.
Toss it on there. I truly don't know. Like Deadpool writers Anthony Mackie. There's a lot of Marvel talent here. Obviously, that's not what Obviously, that's not what the property is. But it's interesting they gotta obviously the Deadpool writers were working for Fox when they wrote the other Deadpool movies, but a lot of Disney talent in here, which is kind of interesting to see. So, yeah, you have to wonder how this is going to go down. I don't know exactly who has the rights to Twisted Metal for like movie or TV show stuff.
Sony,
something for us to look into for the future, but yeah, it makes sense that it'd be Sony. So, pretty crazy. We'll have to see. And until then, it is just a figment of our imagination. I'm imagining Wesley Snipes. All right, and moving on. But before we move on to the final story of the day, I just want to remind you right now, if you're listening to this as an audio podcast, or if you're listening to this on watching our beautiful faces on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, give us a 5 stars. Matt is making an adorable face. Like he's like, who, me? At 5 stars, thumbs up, drop a review, leave a comment. Everything you do helps, but even just rating is super, super awesome for us, especially on Apple Podcasts or any of those podcast apps. Helps us get higher in the algorithm, and we can make more and more awesome content where we don't just talk about video games, but maybe we write stuff. Maybe there's a whole ass video where we like wrote a script or something crazy.
Holy shit.
I know. So we really, really appreciate it if you can manage to do that. Now moving on to the final story of the day. Eurogamer. We all like the Eurogamer website. Well, Eurogamer has officially shut down its forums after 20 plus years of existing, with no warning, no fanfare, no accompanying announcement. They're just gone. Matt, it's sad. It's sad to see. I know we're in a world where there's like Reddit all the time and everyone's going on these centralized areas, but you know what? It's nice to have decentralized forums. I'm not one to go like, oh, the internet, oh, everything. It's bad that we're all on the same 5 websites, but it kind of is. They're convenient, but it was nice to be able to go on different forums and be kind of a huge forum poster. Matt, you yourself have a lot of history as a big forum frequenter and forum poster. How are you feeling about this? Just this drop?
Yeah, this is sad. I never used the Eurogamer forums, but I used a ton. I was on a ton of different forums in the late 2000s. Specifically.
We met on a forum.
Yeah. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is sad. Forums, more so than any other board format, like Reddit or anything like that, forums have a really good way of fostering long-term conversation. You have these conversations that go on for years.
Yeah.
And you can't do that on specifically Reddit. It's like after 6 months,
they archive it. Yeah.
They archive it, so you can't upvote, you can't post. And even if you did post, the only person who's going to see it is the person you're replying to, because the post is long gone.
Yeah. Exactly. And you would see that a bit on forums. Some people will say, hey, don't necro post, don't bring back old posts. But that all depends on the community and the vibe of the forum. Not everyone was so concerned about that. So yeah, that does depend. I know that was kind of a thing. Like, don't dig up old posts. But
the old bump technique.
Yeah, the bump. Classic bump.
But there were certain conversations that would go on forever and ever and ever. And
Yeah.
It was specific maybe to that kind of thread, but that you just can't do that in other places, even if you wanted to. And because of that, they were also great at building communities. Like, you saw the same users all the time, you saw the same signatures, you got to know their signature, you saw how many times they've posted. It's not like a karma count. It's
There
like,
was
this
so
is
much. Yeah.
this is their number of posts, this is the amount of work they've put in on this forum,
Yeah.
and how they're a big member of this community. You had certain badges and like levels because of it. So I don't know, it's sad that those are going away.
Yeah, it is sad. I totally agree. Obviously, Reddit has tried to make some strides toward that with like the snooze, having your own little gold profile thing,
Yeah, that's true.
and things like that. But honestly, it's just the idea that it can't be more custom. Obviously, it can be. You can still make your own forum, but the idea that we're kind of moving to these centralized platforms where it's up to this big corporation to decide how you're going to be able to, designate yourself or what kind of flares exist and things like that. And obviously, communities can do things like flares. We've talked, but the point is how the forum looks, what it counts, post counts, other things, what, having signatures. That's stuff that just like isn't on Reddit or a lot of other forums and like these big corporate forums, and that just doesn't exist. Whereas if you made your own forum, you could add all that stuff, but there's not going to be anyone there because it just doesn't. It's not really done anymore, and it's kind of sad. I loved finding weird forums for weird things. I remember specifically you and me and one of our good buds found the Tom and Jerry online. Didn't we? No, that was ours, right? We made that up. But we did find some weird fake forums, right?
Yeah,
For
we did.
some like MMOs that were nothing. I have some great memories tied to forums, so many, and it's kind of sad I don't go to any of those places anymore. Just like a lot of things, we don't. I used to have a big, toolbar full of stuff. I sound like an old back in my day, but I used to have a big toolbar full of stuff, and I would I go to different websites every day, and now I just kind of go to Reddit and see
Yeah.
whatever is on there. And is it more? It's more convenient, but it's not like I have a lot of time on my hands right now. I could go to different websites. I just like it's not the internet anymore. It's more curated. It's smaller. It feels like, and it's sad.
No,
But
it is sad, but I get it. Like, even myself, as someone who used to go to forums all the time, I don't post on forums anymore. I
no,
do, like, there are two forums that I'll look at, and that's MMO Champion and Operation Sports, and
love it.
which Operation Sports is all sports video games. And like, I will look at those, but I'm not posting. But
Yeah,
it's just sad to see that stuff going away. I wish there was a way to innovate on those that kept the spirit of what they were, but keeping them alive at the same time. Reddit is not the answer, like we said,
no.
for many reasons. And I don't know. I don't know if there's a good way to preserve that.
Yep, I totally agree. It's categories were another big thing that was cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, but last thing I was just gonna say, that's something like you go on Reddit. Let's say I go on like, what was one thing I used to watch all those Revision 3 shows with like Kevin Rose and stuff. I would go on their forums and they'd have like categories for different shows, and you could go to that show's specific forum, and it was cool. It was all on there, and I feel like sidebars and people try to make that stuff in Reddit and things like that, but really it's kind of a janky system, a series of communities that are all kind of like boxed off from each other. So you do see different people because they can avoid different areas and stuff.
Like,
Yeah, it's
for
not.
example, on Reddit, I hate mega threads because
Yeah,
they don't work the same as a
no,
forum. So like,
yeah,
you aren't seeing everything, and you're
no.
missing out
You're
on a
not
lot of
seeing it
stuff.
in a big line there. And if people, you can sort by different ways, which you wouldn't really do on a traditional forum. Everything would just be in line. So now there's like this idea that, with upvotes and things like that, things get prioritized in a different way that you wouldn't have gotten on a forum, which obviously is more convenient to get like the upvoted post because you're assuming that most people thought this was something interesting worth clicking on. But it was kind of fun. You miss a lot of stuff by seeing the same trolls every day, like in the forum, and being like, "Oh, that's that guy who's always posting that same shit." It's sad. Obviously, they must have had their reasons, but it's probably just taking up a lot of space, maybe on the servers. I don't know. But
It's probably just something they didn't want to have to moderate anymore.
yeah, makes total sense. But especially, pretty divisive times. It's a lot of work, I'm sure, to moderate those forums. So rest in peace to Eurogamer forums and forums everywhere. We salute you, and we hope one day you will come back to us in a new form. Uh, all right. Well, on that little diverging chat of tangent, we are going to be ending this show. But just before we head out for the day, I just want to remind you that we have a wealth of content on our website, www.goodnightgroofs.com, where we have blog, podcasts, videos, links to all of our social medias, Instagram, TikTok. We got everything on there. In addition, when I mentioned podcasts, we do have our all-encompassing gaming podcast, Game Groofs, which always comes out on Sunday. But you know what? If Sunday is not soon enough for you, we do have a Patreon. If you're feeling extra generous, we have a $1, $3, and $5 tier. And the $3 tier does get you early access to our all-encompassing gaming podcast, Game Groofs. You can get on Friday instead of Sunday. So there's some other cool tier things to check out. So head on over to patreon.com/goodnightgroofs to see more of that. Anything and everything you guys can do for us helps. We definitely don't want to bleed you dry, but there are definitely options for just, tipping us $1 or just checking out our website, giving us some views and seeing what you engage in. Obviously, we have a lot of content we're trying to push out, and, we want to do more all the time. But we do need support and, people who actually are interested in checking it out. So even just checking it out is awesome. Matt, do you have anything else to add before we head out of here for this beautiful Wednesday?
Shout out to my old stomping grounds back in the day, the Toontown Central forums.
Toontown Central, love it. And we met. Just shout out to WoW Radio, WCRadio.com, our old school World of Warcraft radio station, where we became friends almost 2 decades ago. We're getting there. Well, 15,
we're old.
But
we're old.
Yeah, we're old guys. Actually, I was gonna leave, but if anyone managed to stick around, the Switch now has Bluetooth for audio. All right, everyone, that is going to be it for GG Replay for Wednesday, September 15th, 2021. Don't forget, we will be back here on Friday for a special, relaxing, casual episode of GG Replay, as we always have on our Fridays. There will be soda facts, and you know what? If anyone's still listening, I actually have a little soda surprise on Friday as well, teed up. So you want to make sure you tune in for that. Good night, Groofs.